Ska jag putta ut eller? Ja. Lycka till. Yes.
Yeah, so that was actually the very first time I went for a spin on the water and got back on land with the vehicle. So it's just such a liberating moment to see that it works out. And of course it floats extremely well, and it's not a big surprise to most of us, I think. The overall density of the vehicle is really ultra low. It's like 11 kilos per square cubic meter, so it's extremely low density. You can compare that with ordinary styrofoam, expanded polystyrene. This is like 14 kilos per cubic meter. So the vehicle as a whole is actually lighter. It has lower density than this material here. With me on the vehicle, the density goes up to like 17 kilos per cubic meter. But again, that's just slightly above the expanded polystyrene. So it's extremely light. So it really stands on the water rather than being submerged in the water. But so I was not really worried about that. However, this small marina ends up in a river, which of course goes down to a lake, and the river moves from left to right at a fairly significant rate. You can see that in the beginning of the clip, that the vehicle, as soon as my coworker lets go of the vehicle, it starts drifting downstreams. So before we went out in the river, of course we did a static propulsion test to see that I at least had some amount of static thrust to handle the downstream movement. And the water is like 0 degrees, really. It's still winter here, so I really was not very interested of getting just flushed away with the river and ending up at an unknown location at this point, because swimming is not an option if you really don't have to. So let's take a look at that short clip where we test the static propulsion. The simple plan here is to first just go out in the water. This is the very first time, the very first flotation test. And once we have established that it floats nicely, the plan is for me to apply some power to the wheels, and for my friend here to resist. Yeah, here's a spectator coming in from the right. Yeah, that's funny. He was with us a long time there. And she will simply just make sure that I don't float out here in the river. And halfway up the rope she's holding in, we have attached a fishing scale. So it only goes up to 22 kilos, but I thought that that would be more than enough for this. My guesstimation would be like I perhaps will have like 5 kilos of thrust from this vehicle when it's in the water. And that would be enough for a funny video when I'm just, passing over a small pond a calm day, and that would be like good enough for this. I don't have very high expectations, or rather I think that's pretty realistic to expect like around 5 kilos of propulsive force, since there are no shovels on the tires. Okay, so here I'm applying some force, and she's having a hard time holding back. And here she says that it's the scale maxed out. I just like, what? You're kidding. So, well, I mean, I have a bigger scale. It goes like to 100 kilos or so, but I didn't think that you would see the needle even move on that scale. So we do another test here just to verify that result. And I'm not going full throttle here, and it's still just maxing out that scale. So that's great news, really. Yeah, so what do you know? I mean, this scale here is not like super accurate or anything, but it is accurate enough to tell me that I have some significant traction in the water with this vehicle. And when I think about it, I mean, the fabric of the tires, it's a very large area. It's, I don't know, perhaps 2 square meters combined or something like that in the water. So think about it. If you put a blanket of like 2 square meters in the water and try to move that, it would certainly make a lot of resistance. And of course, the opposite, if you start moving that blanket, you will have a significant counterforce to counteract that. So it sort of makes sense that it has a lot of bite, or a fair amount of bite in the water. I don't know how much it is now. I will have to redo this test, which will be very nice. I'm really longing for going out in the water again, because it was so fun to ride it in the water. But I will bring a bigger scale, and I will really make sure that we can max out the power of the vehicle to see what the maximum propulsive force is. And of course, 22 kilos is not a lot of force to have when you're on like open water, but it's a lot more than I expected. It's like a trolling motor or something, so it's not too shabby. Of course, the vehicle has a huge area for the wind to catch onto, so you would still not be able to go like in a strong headwind or side wind with the vehicle, but it's enough to go upstream this river and maintain full control over the vehicle, and still have a fair amount of speed in the upstream's river direction. So it's good enough for my needs right now, and it will be interesting to take a GPS measurement of the actual speed in kilometers per hour or meters per second. So that will be interesting to do later on when it's a little bit more warmer weather over here. So anyway, that just like was a significant moment. I was really pleasantly surprised over how well it behaved. Yeah, okay, so there's still a couple of things to sort out. I really just want to go out to do this water test again because it was so fun, but I had to deal with some issues. One thing is that I do not have any brakes on this vehicle, and at some point during the previous episode we got in this slight downslope, and the vehicle just wouldn't stop. I thought that the significant gearing mechanism in this vehicle, I think it's like 1 to 288 or something like that. I thought it would be enough resistance in the gearbox to actually keep it still in a slight slope, but it isn't. So I need to fix that to be able to ride it more casually. The outer seam of the wheels, I sewed it with a ordinary household sewing machine, and it's on the weak side. I have seen some short spots where the sewing thread has got abraded away. The good thing is that I had the opportunity just the other week to buy a old industrial sewing machine which can take 0.5 millimeter Kevlar thread. So I will be sewing all the wheels eventually, but I will have to wait until the weather gets better, because I had to do that outside because they're so big, and it's right now it's snow outside again, so it will have to wait a little bit. But other than that, I'm just longing to play a little bit more with this vehicle and capture it on video so that I can show you. Okay, let me just end with a short recap of the first video clip here, because it's just so nice. And please feel free to subscribe if you like the content, and I will see you in the next episode.
Yes.